Hello there, my name's Tom Mabbett. I'm an Operations Manager and Tour Leader for the Wildlife Tour Operator Nature Trek. And for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about the wonderful island of Borneo, and in particular our tour there, which goes in the quest for the clouded leopard. So before I start, I'll just bring up the presentation here. Okay, here we are. Just taking a little moment here, and then we'll start working through the wonderful wildlife of Borneo. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about our wonderful holiday, which incorporates a visit to the magnificent Dramakot Forest Reserve, which is currently one of the top places in the world to give yourself a chance of seeing this magnificent animal, the Sunda clouded leopard. And I will also touch on a whole range of other wonderful wildlife we hope to find along the way. So Borneo, the third largest island in the world, home to some of the oldest and most biodiverse rainforests on the planet. And we've currently run 4 itineraries to Borneo, and they're all focused on the Malaysian state of Sabah, which is here in the northeastern state. And this is a more of a close-up look, and just to give you an idea of the geography of Sabah. To get here, we fly via Kuala Lumpur, connecting Kuala Lumpur, and then fly down into Sandakan, which you can see here, and then head off to whichever reserves we're visiting on that particular itinerary. So this just gives you an idea. This is the Kinabatangan River running across the centre here, largest river in Sabah. Wonderful place. We include that on all of our itineraries. The wonderful Tabin Reserve here, Danang Valley Conservation Area, Mount Kinabalu, all fantastic areas for wildlife, wonderful habitat. Sepulok Forest Reserve, where we start all our trips, some superb habitat there. I'm going to be focusing largely on a fairly new reserve, the reserve of Dramakot, which is around here, just below Telukad there, and what we can hope to find with 7 nights of that fantastic reserve. So as I said, we start our tours at Sepulok Wildlife Resort, just to settle in and get over the flight and see some wonderful wildlife. Of course, we visit the Orangutan Rehabilitation Centre, and we also visit the Sun Bear Sanctuary, and a wonderful canopy walkway as well. So we see a lot just with our first 1 night stay after arriving from a long flight. And then it's all about heading into the wilds of more of the centre of Sabah to explore some of the fantastic rainforests that are found here. So this is a photo taken in the Dramakot Forest Reserve. This reserve has actually won awards for its sort of sustainable management. It's a working forestry reserve, so there's ongoing logging happening, but it's being done in a very sustainable way. So 30 to 40 years for an area to regenerate before it's cut, and it's done very, very well. And it's actually proven that some species, including the clouded leopard, actually increase with this with this management, with more tracks crisscrossing the forest. There's some wonderful trees, some superb habitat to explore here. This is where we're based. It's a remote lodge. It's as I said, it's a working forestry reserve. Tourism has certainly come as a secondary in the last sort of decade or so, and more recently than that, regular visitors. And we stay in these 2 chalets here, clean and comfortable, air conditioned, but basic in nature. You're not visiting this reserve for a really lavish lodge, but it's a fantastic base right in the middle of the habitat, as this photo shows. A short walk down to the dinner area, and we're spending our time walking around the lodge grounds and some trails, and then really reserving our energy for the night time when we head out on exciting drives. Lots of bird life can be found around the lodge. This is whiskered tree swift, quite a commonly encountered species, and a really beautiful bird. The smallest falcon in the world. This is the Bornian Falconet, quite commonly encountered, feeding on butterflies and other large insects around the lodge grounds. This is around the size of a bullfinch, this bird, so very, very small falcon. And the much larger and really impressive red-bearded bee-eater. This is found with regularity around the lodge. Hornbills. Anyone visiting Borneo wants to see hornbills. There's 8 species on the island. This is the rarest of them all, the helmeted hornbill. And all 8 have been recorded in the Dramacot Reserve, and we've got a chance of seeing, a majority of them during our stay. And mammals during the day around the lodge. Orangs, wonderful orangutan here, lovely big male with these big facial flanges. They're often seen around the ground, so just walking the trails and keeping an eye out in the trees surrounding the lodge can often reveal orangs in the daytime. And gibbons, you often wait for the wonderful calls of these fantastic creatures, and a good chance of finding a troop of them during the daytime. It's full of wonderful creatures, the rainforests of Borneo. I'm going to run through a few of those in this talk. This is the bearded pig, a common species and a prey item for a large male clouded leopard. And this particular individual comes down and looks for scraps around the lodge. And on the tracks leading in and out of the headquarters, and we have a fair chance of bumping into Pygmy elephants, a slightly smaller subspecies of the Asian elephant, which is found here. So it's always a really exciting encounter and a wonderful species to find. Often see their dung along the tracks, and we can try and follow that and hope to come across them as we cover the reserve. So as I said, our time is spent at night largely out on these open top vehicles such as the one seen here, with a powerful spotlight, scanning the area for eye shine and trying to find wildlife at night. We can go out for around 7 hours every night, and the time is split between early evening, going through the night. Maybe sometimes we'll do a morning session and an early evening session. We'll split that time, but it's a really, really exciting way of finding wildlife. Heading out at night and seeing some of these rare and lesser seen species. This isn't a rare species. This is the buffy fish owl. We're almost certain to see this magnificent bird. Very numerous. Often seen around wet areas. They drop down into wet ditches and feed on frogs and other amphibians. A really, really smart bird. And it's largely about the mammals. This particular itinerary, and we will see lots of them. Civets feature on almost all night drives in Borneo, and there's a number of different species. This is the Malay civet, quite a bold species, not too afraid, found on the ground and very much an omnivore, taking anything it can get really, eggs, birds, small rodents, nuts, seeds. We're sure to find that species. This is the Bornean striped palm civet. So this species is found up in the treetops. This really long tail here for balance through the canopy, and a real fig lover. So find fig trees, and you can often find a whole number of different species. Fruiting trees in the forest, just so vital for finding wildlife. This is another species we can expect to find. This is the rarer banded civet, beautiful species. And this was thought to be a species that really could only be found and really relied on pure untouched rainforest. But it's shown here that with this careful, sustainable management, this species can still do well and is found here. It's more unusual, but we do have a good success with finding them. This wonderful civet is the Otter Civet. This is a very rare species, but our groups have been lucky to see this animal. And it really is a cross between an otter and a civet. Has its ears and nostrils can close up as it hunts underwater. These really long whiskers for swimming underwater and finding fish and crustaceans and other aquatic prey. And it's you often need a little bit of rain, a bit of rain and some wet weather, and the otter civets are more likely to be found. We've had some good sightings. And I will point out all slides I'm showing here are taken on our tours, either by myself or by other leaders or group members. So it's a super tour for getting photographs of the wildlife as well. This is a binturong sleeping high in a fig tree. This is a sort of a large, hairy civet, also known as the Bearcat. It's a bit of a bizarre looking creature with a really long bushy tail that you can't see here. And again, they love figs. So this is high in a fig tree. They've actually been thought to sort of follow the calls of barbets to track down the fruiting trees. There are 3 species of porcupine that you might come across. This is Malayan porcupine. I'm told by these really long white quills. So again, we're heading around the reserve, crisscrossing the different areas on the open top vehicle, looking for eyeshine and spotting wildlife, coming out from the forest onto the open tracks, up in the trees, and it's very exciting. You never know what you might see around the next corner. It's a very extremely exciting form of wildlife watching. Philippine slow loris, another species where we've got a very good chance of coming across. Wonderful species, feeds on leaf matter. It's actually quite unusual. It has a gland sort of under its elbow, which secretes a sort of very light venom when it's mixed with its saliva, and this is rubbed on its fur, and particularly the young, to deter parasites and other predators. So really interesting species, and this one moving down a branch here, and lots of different species, glide through the canopy. Different squirrel species. So this is Thomas's flying squirrel, and you can see sort of on its belly here large flaps of skin. So it all glide from tree to tree as it moves around its territory. And there's other species. There's red giant flying squirrel, which is a little bit larger with a black tip to the tail, and black giant flying squirrel. So lots of different species to be found. This is one of my favourites, the wonderful Kalugu. This really is a master of gliding through the canopy. In the daytime, it will just hang and rest a little like this in this position. This is the female here, the greeny colour, and then the little head of the orange head of the youngster sticking out. So again, they feed largely on the leaves of various different trees, and then can glide for over 100 meters losing very little height from tree to tree. It's a really wonderful species, and one of my favourites. Just yet another bizarre mammal we hope to come across. This is the wonderful moon rat. It's more closely related to shrews and hedgehogs actually than a rat, but it is essentially a large, pure white rat. Loves moving around in these wet ditches, searching for earthworms. Quite aggressive, and even if you stepped off the van, it might even sort of snarl at you. Has real attitude, and really stinks too. So you can smell them quite a distance. These creatures, and always a thrill to find a moon rat. Western Tarsia. It's another species we can hope to see. It's huge eyes and really long fingers, so where they get their name, their tarsus. Tricky to find, widespread but difficult to find due to the fact that their eyes glow a very dull colour in the spotlight, and they quickly turn their head away. If we do find them, we can often have wonderful views. They spring from tree to tree in search of their insect prey. This is greater mouse deer. We have greater and lesser mouse deer, again a prey species of the clouded leopard. And onto the cats. 5 species of cat in Borneo. This is the leopard cat, and the most numerous and commonly encountered. We also have the wonderful marbled cat with bushy tail. This is a rare species to find, but often seen up in the trees. It's just its bushy tail here, and the cat sat on a branch there. Wonderful species to find. Flat-headed cat, quite aquatic, found near water. Often preys on fish, and will fish for its prey. Again, a rare species, but we have found them at the Jaramakot Reserve, and also on the Kinabatangan. They love the rivers and any wet areas. And this is one of the reasons we're here. This is the Sunda clouded leopard. And this is one of the first photos that was taken by a lucky Nature Trek group member. The cat walking its route straight towards our vehicle. They're often seen with their mouth hanging open like this, letting air flow across a gland at the back of the throat, and they actually sense their prey a lot. They're relying on the scent. Really wonderful species. Unlike lots of cats that will take their prey by biting around the jugular, clouded leopard actually bites across the back of the neck with these huge canines, which will sort of sever the spinal cord with a powerful bite. So often remains of prey, you can see these distinctive puncture marks on the back of the neck. It's their way of taking down prey, and the males are much larger than the females. The males will largely hunt on the ground. They'll take deer, bearded pig, and even small small orangs, whereas the females will feed more more arboreal, more up in the canopy, feeding on primates, and more agile to move through the treetops. Again, this is an animal that walked right past our vehicle. We're aiming to intercept them when they're moving around their territory. So this one was on its route and was not going to put off on the vehicle, walking within a couple of meters. A wonderful encounter. And I like this photo because it shows quite clearly, particularly on the leg here, where they get their name. The clouded leopard, those cloud-shaped markings on their fur there, really stunning animal. And I say Sunda clouded leopard. There are two species. This is now a separate species to the clouded leopard that's found on the mainland. And just one more photo here of another sighting that our group's been lucky to have, and it's showing a really long tail, perfect for balance when it's working through the treetops. So after our 7 nights staying at Dramakot, some wonderful, exciting encounters with a whole range of different mammal species, we finished with some time relaxing on the Kinabatangan River. Morning and afternoon boat rides to see a wonderful array of bird life and other mammals. We'll see troops of Proboscis monkeys, endemic of course to Borneo. Troops of 30 or 40 plus, quite regularly found. Often the vast majority being females and young, as is pictured here, often with a large male with them. So a wonderful species to watch, feeding on the leaves hanging over the river. So we have 3 nights on the Kinabatangan, taking these lovely relaxed boat journeys and a chance for a little bit more relaxation than your sort of intensive nighttime activities at Dramakot. So it's a really lovely way to end the tour. That's it from me. That's a whistle stop. It's difficult to cram it all into 15 minutes. But I'm going to finish with this view of untouched, pristine rainforest. There's lots in the press about the devastation, of course, from the palm oil plantations and the destruction that's happened in Borneo. And of course, that is terribly upsetting to see. And traveling through the state of Sabah, it's inevitable you will see signs of this. But visiting these wonderful reserves, which are still protecting habitats such as this, is so vital for its future and for the future of the wildlife that lives here. So I really, really highly recommend a visit to Borneo. Of course, it's very difficult at the moment with restrictions in place with the current pandemic, but I highly recommend a visit when it's possible again, and to experience its incredible habitat and some of the wonderful wildlife. Thank you very much for listening. That's all from me, and I'll be delighted to help if you ever want to visit the island. Thank you again. Bye and take care.